welcome, beloveds, to the Dr. Mumbi Show. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. How you doing? How's everything going? I really do pray that you are well in all your ways and that you are moving into living your best life. I want to thank every single person that supports us on our PayPal and our Patreon accounts. We wouldn't be able to do the show without you all. We really appreciate, love you. We're approaching 1,000 supporters on Patreon. Go ahead and consider joining us for as little as $2 a month. And that really just enables us to pay our team and pay our researchers, et cetera, et cetera. Now, so much is happening across, the African continent. I'm telling you, and in the mix of everything, the pandemic, the racism, the anti-racism protests, there was actually an election that was held recently in Malawi, and I'm wondering if this is the new breed of African that we've been talking about, because for the first time ever in Africa, and the Malawi election was actually annulled at the beginning of the year, and they were forced to go for a re-election. And very surprisingly, like that's only ever happened in Kenya in 2017, where the election was annulled and they went for a re-election, but the incumbent won. Well, in this situation, they went for a re-election, and the opposition leader, someone called Lazarus Chakwera, who is a former evangelical preacher, and I'll just put a little clip, don't judge the brother at the end of this video. It's very, very rare, not only for an election to be annulled, and the reason it had been annulled is because there were a lot of irregularities in the voting, in the tallying of results, et cetera, et cetera. Some said there had even been some, erasing fluid that had been used on the tally results. Of course, the ruling party has cried foul over the presidential vote rerun, and they want a third presidential election, which is just crazy, because they say, what happened is that the unofficial results were actually compiled by the Malawian Broadcasting Corporation, which gave the leader Lazarus Chakwera a dominant 60% lead, and Mutharika, who is basically the current president, he was trailing by 39%. So it just shows you these guys they're not gods, they're not kings. They're elected leaders. They're like CEOs. If you fail as a CEO, you get kicked out and someone new comes in. And Malawi has actually been very good at getting rid of, some of those leaders that disappointed them. But now, an evangelical preacher, he has taken the reins, and I heard like he had already made some grandiose moves within 24 hours of his presidency. I think he suspended the police chief or something like that, but he's been taking some great strides. You'll hear his clip. Let me know what you think. As a former evangelical preacher, you'll hear how he says, God told him he wanted him to minister a nation. And he said, how does that go? And here he is. I mean, the election was annulled, it was canceled, and he won the rerun. So what can you say? Is it God that helped him win? Let me know in your comments, and he did, so he was sworn in, and he, said the usual, I do solemnly swear that I will well and truly perform the functions of high office of the President of the Republic of Malawi. Now, Chakwera is actually 65 years old. Could we see younger leaders, will we ever see someone in their 40s and younger? Let me know what you think about this. But, from here, we let us know what you think. It's impressive that he beat the incumbent. It's very hard when, you beat a sitting African president who has all the machinery to do all the necessary rigging or whatever. So you can understand why, why Mutharika, who has been in power since 2014, and his party is kind of catching feelings. Now, he did get 2.6 million votes compared to the 1.75 million votes that the current incumbent Mutharika got. But, one thing we have to know is that this democracy system it was never our way. Africa always dealt with consensus politics, where we would debate and debate and debate and debate until everyone was on the same page. Not this thing of the majority win. So 2.6 million people get their man, but 1.75 lose out and they don't get the person they want. That's not how Africa works. We're more about unity, consensus. And hopefully one day we'll get leaders that will return us, that will sacrifice their power, and their, big man syndrome to return us to consensus politics. Until next time, tuko pamoja.
And I come from Malawi. I look at myself and all that I have become as a result of grace. See, I was born with some kind of impediment. I couldn't talk to people. If there's 3-5 people, I just shut down. I wasn't able to communicate. But God changed my whole life and future after I had met Him personally and began to redirect my life toward ministry. I have seen God's grace. I have preached to 5, I preached to 50, I preached to 5,000, I preached to more than 50,000 in large stadium. It's just taken God's grace. There's no way I could have ever dreamed that was going to be possible. And more recently, I had to argue with God over a direction in life that didn't seem natural to me. And this is what led me to where I am now, where I'm running for president of Malawi. And it was a struggle for me to make that decision. Talked with God a lot and read the scriptures a lot. And one day, God spoke to my heart. And God was not saying, I'm pulling you out of ministry. God was saying, I'm extending your ministry so that you are able to pastor a whole nation. I said, how is that possible? And then He began to talk to me about how He had chosen Israel to be a nation that would be an example of a relationship between God and His people. Then God was saying, I want you to get in. I want you to get involved. It's been another point of grace in my life because I never dreamt, not for a day, that I would be running for public office after I had been in ministry all my life. So to me, really, grace is spelled Jesus. Grace is what the Lord has done in taking and considering a person like myself, becoming part of God's family. I cannot claim or lay claim on any of the good things that have happened to me. That is grace to me, because I understand that I wouldn't be where I am and who I am if it hadn't been for Jesus. So grace is Jesus.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, Africa.
Hello and welcome to Africa Watch on the Dr. Mumbi Show. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. How you doing? How's everything going? I pray you're well in all your ways and that you are living your best life, guys. Thanks to every single person that has subscribed to the channel. You're awesome. Really appreciate all your support. It means so much to us. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks to all the shout outs, emails, messages that we get. Love each and every one of you. Now, I got an email a couple of weeks ago where someone was like, Dr. Mumbi, can you please explain to the global black family why African lawyers and judges still wear white wigs? Embarrassing. I actually ignored the email, but when I went to check the news, Malawi actually has announced that they have suspended the wearing of colonial wigs and gowns. And the sad thing is, it's not suspended for life. It's suspended due to a heat wave that Malawi has been experiencing. Apparently, the weather has reached like 45 degrees Celsius, which is like, I think, around 113 degrees Fahrenheit, super, super hot. And so because it's part of the Constitution, what craziness is this? The Constitutional Court actually announced that they had suspended the wearing of the wigs and these robes due to the ongoing heat wave. And let's not forget that this tradition, which was started by the former aggressor, of the divided kingdom. They don't even wear these anymore because they're super uncomfortable. The wigs are made from horsehair. They can go as much, for as much as $6,500 a pop. Only made in specific shops in the divided kingdom in London. So all these African lawyers go and buy them as a rite of passage. And they were originally created to kind of give law, to separate the elite from the commoners. And that seems to be the reason that a lot of African judges and a lot of African lawyers are actually in support of keeping it, because they love that elitist thing. They like to feel special, and it's crazy when you hear some of these African lawyers actually trying to justify it, saying it gives them a certain regal presence in the courtrooms. What are you smoking? Who are you?